All right, so welcome to today's deep dive, and we're going to be diving into some fascinating stuff today. Spiritual principles for a balanced life.
Okay.
And this is all based on that Murley's document you shared.
Right.
And you know what I really like about it is it's got these really clever analogies about finances and health and career and even relationships
It does.
to illustrate these principles. So it's like we have a roadmap to achieving our goals without sacrificing our well-being.
Yeah.
So to help us navigate this roadmap, we have our insightful expert speaker here.
Well, I'm excited to be here. These principles offer some really practical wisdom. I'm excited to see what resonates with you.
All right, let's jump right in. The first principle from today's Murley document that really caught my eye was all about uplifting yourself and others. And it's not just about personal growth.
Right.
It's about sharing those discoveries and creating this ripple effect of positivity.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is it uses the analogy of a friend sharing new skills. It highlights that when you discover something beneficial, like maybe a productivity hack or a new way to communicate,
Right.
sharing it amplifies the positive impact.
It's like finding an amazing new app that makes your life easier. You immediately want to tell everybody about it, but
Yeah.
think about something with a deeper impact,
Yeah.
like discovering a technique for managing stress. Wouldn't it be amazing to share that with your loved ones and see how it could improve their lives too?
Exactly. It's about recognizing that personal growth isn't meant to be a solo journey. When we share what uplifts us, we create stronger connections and foster a sense of shared growth. It's a win-win for everyone involved.
Okay, fantastic start. So we've got this idea of uplifting ourselves and others, creating this ripple effect.
Yeah.
What's the next principle that stood out to you in today's Murley document?
So the next one focuses on actions that bring long-term happiness, and it uses an analogy that really resonated with me, investing in new technology at work.
Interesting. How does that tie into happiness?
Well, think about it. Just like investing in new technology can lead to increased efficiency and better outcomes at work.
Yeah.
Investing in honest and kind actions leads to lasting happiness.
Okay.
It's not about instant gratification.
Right.
It's about making choices that align with your values, knowing that they will ultimately lead to a more fulfilling life.
So instead of chasing those quick fixes or shortcuts, we should be focusing on the actions that build a strong foundation for long-term happiness.
Yeah.
Kind of like building a house on solid ground instead of sand.
Precisely. The Murley document emphasizes that actions rooted in integrity and kindness tend to generate fewer regrets. It's about making choices that you can look back on with a sense of pride and satisfaction.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. These principles are all about playing the long game,
Right.
making choices that lead to lasting positive outcomes.
Okay.
Okay, what's next on our list of principles for a balanced life?
Well, this next principle is about cultivating a mindset of donation.
Okay.
And the Murley document uses a brilliant financial analogy to illustrate it, building up your savings account.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does saving money relate to spiritual growth?
Just as consistently, setting aside a portion of your income creates financial security over time.
Right.
Consistently sharing your knowledge, skills, and even just a listening ear builds spiritual wealth.
So instead of hoarding our knowledge or talents,
Yeah,
we should be actively sharing them, almost like making regular deposits into a good karma account.
exactly. It's about shifting from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset.
Right.
The more we give, the more we realize that there's always more to share. And that act of giving itself becomes incredibly rewarding.
Okay. I love that it's like that feeling you get when you help somebody out and it makes their day. It makes
Yeah.
you feel good too.
Yeah.
So we've got uplifting others, long-term happiness, and sharing knowledge. What other gem of wisdom does today's Murley document offer?
Well, the next principle focuses on shifting from a thorny environment filled with negativity and conflict to a more flower-like atmosphere of positivity and compassion. And it really resonated with me because it reminds me of healthy eating habits.
Okay, I can see the connection. Tell me more.
Think about it this way. Swapping out junk food for nutritious meals transforms your physical energy, right? Well, the Murley document suggests that replacing negative talk or gossip with uplifting conversations can have a similar effect on your emotional and mental well-being.
So it's like a cleanse for your mind and spirit.
Yeah.
Detoxing from negativity and filling up with positive energy instead, out with the thorns and with the flowers.
Exactly. And just like with healthy eating, it's a gradual process.
Right.
The more we consciously choose positivity over negativity,
Yeah.
the more we cultivate a healthy inner environment, and that naturally spills over into our relationships and our outlook on life.
All right, so far we've covered uplifting others, focusing on long-term happiness, sharing knowledge, and choosing positivity. It feels like we're building a solid foundation for a balanced life. What's the next principle we should explore from today's Murley document?
Well, the Murley document then introduces the ascending stage, emphasizing the importance of constant learning and adaptation.
That makes sense. The world is constantly changing, so we need to keep evolving too. What kind of analogy does today's Murley document use to explain this concept?
It uses the analogy of staying updated in a fast-paced job. Just imagine if you refuse to learn new software or adapt to new processes at work,
Right.
you'd quickly fall behind.
That's a great point. In today's world, if you're not growing, you're falling behind. So this principle is about embracing change and being willing to step outside our comfort zones to learn and evolve.
Precisely, remaining open to improvement, whether it's in your spiritual understanding, your professional skills, or your personal relationships, is key to continuous progress.
So we've got to be lifelong learners, constantly seeking out new knowledge and experiences. But let's be honest, sometimes letting go of old habits or beliefs can be tough. What does today's Murley document say about that?
That's where the next principle comes in, and it's all about releasing old baggage to experience a liberated state of mind.
Ooh, this one hits home. I think we've all experienced the weight of holding on to past hurts or grudges. It's like carrying around a heavy suitcase full of rocks. It just weighs you down.
What's powerful about this principle is that the Murley document uses the analogy of resolving a family dispute.
Oh.
By releasing grudges, allowing for fresh, positive interactions to emerge.
So it's about acknowledging that holding on to those negative emotions isn't serving us.
Right.
It's preventing us from fully embracing the present moment and creating new positive experiences.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that sometimes letting go is the bravest and most liberating thing we can do. It creates space for growth and allows us to move forward with a lighter heart.
Okay, I'm really feeling the wisdom in these principles. But letting go of baggage is one thing. How do we actually build the inner strength to move forward and navigate life's challenges with resilience?
That's a great question, and it leads us to the next principle in today's Murley document, which is all about building inner resilience by remembering higher principles, rather than just going through the motions of rituals.
So it's not about blindly following rules or traditions, but about connecting with the deeper meaning and values behind them. What kind of analogy does the Murley document use to illustrate this point?
It compares it to the difference between relying on quick fixes versus establishing healthy habits.
Okay.
Think about crash diets versus consistent exercise and healthy eating. One is temporary and unsustainable, while the other leads to lasting change and well-being.
That makes so much sense. So instead of looking for quick fixes or relying on external rituals, we need to cultivate a strong inner foundation based on timeless principles like truth, empathy, and compassion.
Precisely, true resilience comes from consistently choosing honesty, patience, and understanding, even and especially in challenging situations.
Okay, so consistency is key, but how do we navigate those tricky situations where we need to speak up, maybe share a difficult truth without creating more conflict? That's a challenge I think we all face at some point. What wisdom does today's Murley document offer on that front?
That brings us to the principle of speaking truth with gentleness.
Okay, I like where this is going. Tell me more.
Even in difficult situations, today's Murley document reminds us to maintain good manners and approach conversations with kindness.
Yeah.
It uses the analogy of correcting a coworker's mistake. You can choose to be harsh and judgmental, or you can choose to be kind and understanding.
I think we all know which approach is more likely to be effective in the long run.
Right.
Kindness creates a space for open dialogue and encourages growth, while harshness just shuts people down.
Exactly. The Murley document highlights that when we present truth in a compassionate and considerate way, we preserve dignity and build trust. This applies to all areas of life at home, in our social circles, and especially in the workplace.
So it's not about avoiding tough conversations. It's about approaching them with the right mindset and tone, kind of like firm but fair, but for life in general.
That's a great way to put it. It's about finding that balance between honesty and empathy, which can be incredibly powerful.
Wow, we've covered so much ground already, uplifting others, choosing long-term happiness, sharing knowledge, embracing change, letting go of baggage, building resilience, and speaking truth with gentleness. It's like we're creating a blueprint for a truly balanced and fulfilling life.
It is quite a collection of wisdom, isn't it? And we're not done yet.
Hold on, I need a moment to catch my breath. This is a lot to take in. But don't worry, listeners, we'll be right back in part 2 to delve into even more fascinating principles from today's Murley document. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Ready to explore some more principles for a balanced life?
Absolutely. I'm still processing all the wisdom we uncovered in the first part. What's next on our journey through today's Murley document?
This next principle really grabbed my attention. It's about cultivating a light mindset.
Okay, light mindset. What exactly does that mean? Does it mean we should all start walking around humming and skipping?
Not quite, though I wouldn't object to a little more humming and skipping in the world.
Fair enough. So what does a light mindset actually entail?
It's about recognizing that our mental and emotional energy is precious. Today's Merle document uses the analogy of carrying a heavy backpack.
Okay.
Think about it. If you're constantly weighed down by worries, anxieties, and negativity, it's going to drain your energy and make it much harder to enjoy the journey.
That's such a vivid image. I can definitely relate to feeling weighed down by unnecessary burdens. So how do we lighten our load? What does today's Merle document suggest?
It all starts with becoming a master of prioritization.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that we can't give equal attention to everything, so we need to consciously choose what deserves our focus.
So instead of letting ourselves get bogged down by every little annoyance, we should be focusing on the things that truly matter, the things that bring us joy, fuel our passions, and nourish our souls.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our attention is a precious resource by directing it towards what truly matters. We create a sense of lightness and spaciousness in our lives.
Okay, I'm starting to get a sense of how powerful this light mindset can be. It's like decluttering our minds and making room for more joy and fulfillment. But how does it tie into all the other principles we've discussed?
That's what I find so fascinating about these principles. They all work together beautifully, creating a holistic approach to living a balanced life.
Okay, I'm all ears, connect the dots for me.
Well, think back to that first principle about uplifting ourselves and others. When we approach our interactions with a genuine desire to support and encourage, we naturally create a more positive and harmonious environment. That lightness of spirit ripples outward, reducing conflict and negativity.
So it's like choosing to surround ourselves with sunshine instead of storm clouds.
Precisely. And when we focus on actions that bring long-term happiness, actions that align with our values and deepest aspirations, we naturally reduce those feelings of regret and guilt that can weigh us down.
It's about making choices that feel good in our hearts, not just in the moments where we're uplifting others. Making conscious choices. What else contributes to this light mindset?
Remember that principle about sharing knowledge and fostering a mindset of donation? Well, when we generously share our talents and resources, it not only benefits others, but also creates a sense of purpose and fulfillment within us. That feeling of giving back can be incredibly liberating and empowering.
I love that. It's like the more we give, the lighter we feel.
Exactly. And when we shift from a thorny to a flower-like environment, choosing positivity over negativity, we naturally attract more lightness and joy into our lives.
Okay, so we're creating a positive environment both internally and externally. What about that principle of embracing change and continuously learning? How does that contribute to a light mindset?
When we're open to learning and adapting, we approach challenges with curiosity and excitement rather than fear and resistance. This flexibility allows us to navigate life's ups and downs with greater ease and grace.
It's like being a skilled surfer riding the waves of change instead of getting wiped out by them.
Exactly. And remember that principle about releasing old baggage? Well, by letting go of those past hurts and regrets, we free ourselves from a tremendous amount of emotional weight.
So forgiveness is like a mental and emotional detox. It allows us to move forward with a clean slate and a lighter heart.
Precisely. And when we cultivate inner resilience by focusing on higher principles, we develop a strong inner compass that helps us navigate even the most challenging situations with grace and integrity.
It's like building an inner fortress that can withstand any storm.
Exactly. And speaking of challenging situations, remember the principle of speaking truth with gentleness. Well, when we approach difficult conversations with kindness and compassion, we keep the energy light and focused on finding solutions.
It's like choosing diplomacy over a shouting match. Much easier on the ears and the soul.
Precisely. And finally, regular self-reflection helps us maintain that light mindset by allowing us to identify any patterns or habits that might be weighing us down.
So self-reflection is like a regular mental and emotional checkup, a chance to see what's working, what needs adjusting, and make sure we're not carrying any unnecessary baggage.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of our inner world, which ultimately shapes our outer experiences.
Wow, this is all making so much sense. It's like all these principles work together to create this beautiful interconnected web of positivity and lightness.
That's the beauty of it. They're not meant to be isolated concepts, but rather a holistic approach to living a more balanced and fulfilling life.
I'm already feeling lighter just thinking about it. But before we get too carried away, I think it's time to shift gears a bit. What other insights does today's Merle document offer?
Well, now that we have a good grasp of these foundational principles, the document goes on to explore how they can be applied to specific areas of our lives.
Okay, this is getting really interesting. I'm eager to hear how these principles can translate into real-world action. But you know what? I think we've covered enough ground for one episode. We need to give our listeners a chance to digest all of this incredible wisdom.
I agree. It's always best to take these things in bite-sized pieces.
Don't worry, listeners. We'll be back in part 3 to delve into the practical applications of these principles and discover how they can help us navigate the complexities of relationships, work, and personal growth. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're back and ready for the final part of our deep dive into spiritual principles for a balanced life. I'm excited to see how we can put all this wisdom into action.
Me too. It's one thing to talk about these principles, but it's another to actually integrate them into our lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin? What does today's Murley document say about that?
Well, it emphasizes that these principles aren't just for personal reflection. They're meant to be lived, woven into our relationships, our work, our personal growth, everything.
Right, okay. So let's start with relationships. How can these principles help us create more harmony with the people in our lives?
I think it goes back to that first principle we talked about, uplifting ourselves and others. When we come into relationships wanting to see the best in people, supporting their growth, well, it just creates a much more positive, nurturing environment.
So it's like, instead of judging and criticizing, we're focused on encouraging and supporting.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all on our own journeys, and we can be a source of light for each other along the way.
Yeah, I like that. But what about when conflict comes up? How can we deal with those tricky situations without negativity taking over?
Well, that's where speaking truth with gentleness becomes so important. When we can be honest but still kind and respectful, it opens up a space for real dialogue.
So finding that balance between honesty and empathy.
Yes, remembering that even when we disagree, we can communicate in a way that keeps things respectful and helps us understand each other better.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, what about applying these principles to work? How can we stay ambitious and driven, but still feel balanced and fulfilled?
Today's Murley document makes a really interesting point about success. It says true success isn't just about achievements, it's about finding meaning and purpose in our work and contributing something positive to the world.
So it's not just about climbing the ladder, it's about aligning our work with our values.
Exactly. It's recognizing that our work can be a way to express our talents, help others, make a real difference.
And how does that connect with focusing on actions that bring long-term happiness?
Well, when you're doing work that feels meaningful, it naturally brings a deeper sense of satisfaction. It's playing the long game, making choices that feel good in your soul, even if they don't bring instant rewards.
I love that, finding that sweet spot where passion, talent, and values all come together.
Absolutely. And remember that principle about constantly learning and adapting. That's essential for staying ahead in today's world. It's about staying curious, taking on challenges, and never stopping learning.
So having a growth mindset, always open to learning and evolving.
Yes. And when we combine that with a mindset of sharing, of giving back, well, it's a recipe for true success. We're not just hoarding knowledge, we're sharing it to help others.
It's like this amazing cycle. The more we learn and grow, the more we have to give back and the more we contribute to the world.
Exactly. It's a beautiful thing.
This is so inspiring. But let's be real, life throws curveballs. How can these principles help us deal with challenges and setbacks?
That's where building inner resilience comes in. Remember that analogy of a strong inner foundation based on higher principles? When we develop qualities like truth, empathy, and compassion, we become much stronger inside, able to handle whatever comes our way.
It's like having this unshakable core that helps us stay calm and grounded, even when things are tough.
Yes, and when we combine that with letting go of old baggage, we free ourselves from so much weight. We can move forward with more lightness and clarity.
It's like decluttering our minds and hearts so we can be present and create new, positive experiences.
Exactly. And don't forget about that light mindset we talked about. That's so important for dealing with challenges gracefully. It's about choosing our battles, focusing on what we can control, and letting go of things that drain us.
So staying calm amidst the chaos. Remembering that even in difficult times, there's always something to be grateful for, something to hope for.
You said it perfectly. It's about cultivating that inner peace that helps us get through tough times without losing our balance.
Wow. This has been an amazing journey. We've covered so much ground, so many practical and profound principles for creating a more balanced and fulfilling life. Any final words of wisdom from today's Merle document?
It leaves us with this beautiful reminder. By embracing these principles, you can manage your responsibilities, achieve success, pursue your ambitions, all while staying peaceful and positive.
It's like saying we don't have to choose between success and happiness. We can have both.
Absolutely. It's about aligning our actions with our values, finding inner peace, and making a positive impact on the world around us.
This has been such a rich and insightful conversation. Thank you so much for guiding us through these principles.
It's been my pleasure. Exploring these ideas and seeing how they can help us live more meaningful lives is always inspiring.
And a huge thank you to you, dear listeners, for joining us on this deep dive. I hope you found these principles as thought-provoking and inspiring as we did.
Remember, it's not about becoming perfect overnight. It's about finding one principle that speaks to you and starting to integrate it into your daily life.
That's great advice. Start small, stay consistent, and watch how even small changes can ripple out and make a big difference.
And remember, these principles are always here for you, guiding you back to a path of balance, purpose, and fulfillment.
Beautifully said. And listeners, this is just the beginning. There's always more to explore, more to learn, more to discover.
So keep those curious minds engaged, keep searching for new knowledge, and keep bringing us those amazing sources for future deep dives.
We can't wait to see what amazing insights we uncover together. Until next time, happy exploring.